That was money. That was perfect. Very good.
Well, we're out here in the United Kingdom. After class, we're about to work on a corner right behind the camera here. The track didn't rut up too much today, but we have some lines that we can work with. We got a fairly deep inside line, one kind of in the middle, and then one very faint one to the right of it. The thing is, which one do we choose? Do you know, Alex?
I would go in the middle, personally.
Middle? Where do you think you would go?
Middle.
Middle. And I would say, I would agree. The middle is the one that extends all the way through the corner and will connect the exit with the most flow possible. So what I want to see is I want to see these two riders attempt this corner to the best of their abilities. And then we'll see if there's anything we can improve or we need to improve upon. Sound good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's get after it, boys.
It's Alex on the 125. Both not too bad so far. I would say very, very minor critiques that we can give him, but for Alex, we'll have a pretty good critique that will help him just be smoother upon the exit. All right, Alex, how'd you feel about that?
First one, not so great. Second one, better. Especially didn't downshift twice on the second one.
Got it. So what gear did you end up in throughout the corner?
Second out the turn and flicking third off the little jump.
Great. So the people that are watching aren't aware, this bike is a 125. It's an older 125 in Honda at that. So it requires you to be in the sweet spot of the gear all the time. Otherwise, it's kind of bogging. So I think second gear is the optimal gear here. The one issue you made at the first run was simply where you were looking. And that forced you to kind of shut off the gas a few times, which made it less smooth. The second time through, yes, the gear selection was probably better. And then we are also kind of picking our eyes up earlier, which would be about that 3/4 mark, which is perfect. Next time through, I actually want to see you start to roll throttle on even earlier, which would be at the halfway mark. But at that halfway mark, we should be looking to the face of that jump. For you, honestly, very, very little corrections as far as how you did your corner. What gear were you in? Was that third? Oh, that was third. Okay. So what it seemed like to me is we're kind of chopping the throttle a little bit. So if you're in third, that should be fairly easy to start rolling the throttle a little bit smoother so we're not having to shut off and on throughout the corner. I think one thing that could possibly help is maybe finding a sitting spot. Just because if we can sit towards the exit, you're gonna be able to drive forward with the head a little bit smoother so you don't feel like you're getting pulled off the back of the bike. You think you can do that?
Yeah.
So I think at that 3/4 mark of the corner, so like almost at the exit, we can go ahead and transition to the seat and we should just continually pull the gas back from that point on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, sat a little early that time. All right, you can tell he was anticipating the sit. So as he was nearing the middle of the corner, he was already thinking about the sitting position. So he slowly crept down into the seat, which gives a halfway point of knees too far forward and the heels elevated. So when you make that decision to sit, it's got to be a quick boom in the seat so you're not having that middle zone.
The second one, entrance into the turn, just felt like I didn't get in right into that sort of pocket.
Okay, I got an explanation for that. So the previous laps, we were standing deep into the corner, right? I think what happened is you started to think about your braking zone and then we started sitting back here. So like I mentioned today, to have the best front tire placement, we need to be standing and keeping the head over the bars, and we can utilize that little bit of a ridge of a rut we got, and you can force your front tire in there.
Yeah.
Once we get past that, use your roll speed all the way through that initial curve, and then we can start transitioning to the seat about halfway, and at that same point, we're getting on the gas.
Yeah.
So right in that zone where we're still coasting, we should be standing. That's gonna help you keep those tires suction cupped to the ground.
Yeah.
All right? Josh, how'd that one feel?
Good.
First pass through, we made a mistake of slowly getting to the seat. So when we want to sit, we got to make a nice quick transition from standing to sitting. Otherwise, you'll end up in that spot where your knees are too far forward and the heels will start elevating, and that'll make the control a little less in that first part of the corner. So stand nice and tall all the way until that halfway mark, and then go ahead and transition quickly to the seat as you're getting on the gas. One thing I want to direct our attention to real quick to kind of tie this section together is that jump after. Do you notice when you're hitting it, we're kind of doing one of these things, right? So to help adjust for that, let's really, when we get in the air, drive your head as far forward as you can, but keeping those knees back. Hopefully that will help bring that front end down for you, so it'll make that landing a little bit smoother. Got it?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Still a little early, but I would say that was more acceptable. He was sitting right in that zone where we're still kind of coasting. So I want him to stand maybe a couple feet more. Here comes Josh. All right, so he still did kind of a slow sit in that time. Well, jump was a lot better, so that was great fix there. And maybe I just threw too much things at him, so he's thinking about the jump and the corner at the same time. We're gonna do one more go real quick. I'm gonna stand where you should stand till. Okay, we're still sitting a tad bit too early. Okay. So where I'm standing is where you're gonna make the transition to the seat.
I messed up there. I don't know if you heard me double.
Yeah, I heard you. I did hear you. But it was good recovery. It was almost like you didn't do anything. Jump was a lot better. Nice work there. Now, I'm going to stand at a point where I want you to get on the gas and roll it on from there, okay? So we're doing okay here, but we're still really choppy and hesitant at the end. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand towards the end. I'm gonna be pointing and saying eyes up. When you look up to that jump, roll throttle on consistently from there. All right, so this is the sweet spot I'm talking about with Alex. I want him to stand until this point because we have a good amount of hold here. Once he's here, he has the maximum force pushing down with his bike and his momentum, so then he can make the transition to sitting safely and getting on the gas from here. Nice, that was money. That was perfect. Very good. Eyes up.
That last one was good.
That was excellent. That was very, very good. Did it feel better standing that deep into the corner?
Yeah.
What I noticed is you did really well. Once you got to that sitting point, it was a perfect transition to getting on gas. Very, very smooth. Probably.
But even with catching the rut at the end,
Yeah.
where I was sort of trying not to get near that before, like it went fine.
Puts you in it perfectly, right? And then at that point, we were using the throttle as our momentum piece in our forward drive, which will keep that lean angle and that balance a little more comfortable as well. When you get to that point and you shut off or roll off, that's where the bike really wants to stand itself up and fight you in that rut. Excellent, man. Good job. Josh, how we feel?
Good.
So we have a couple things kind of coming together. I knew I kind of just threw a bunch at you, and we did well in each of those things as we explained them. At the last part there, I think we maybe been focused on the exit too much, right? And then we kind of forgot about the entrance here a little bit. So when we go to the track next, we got to take a step back, always focus on your entry first. Because I always tell my students, be okay to sacrifice a little bit of speed here so we can set up the rest of our corner so we can do well in the middle and to the exit. That's where you're gonna gain all of your speed. So far, that jump was a lot better. I was happy with that. We just gotta get comfortable connecting our eyes to our throttle. So when you look up and you wanna go to that spot, roll throttle on there and be comfortable doing that. Sound good?
Yeah.
That was awesome, man. Good job. Perfect students here. They listen really well. They implement the stuff live timing, which is really cool to see. Amazing day. The sun is starting to set, starting to get a little chilly out here. But I enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for coming out, and we'll see you guys next time.